and I hope you liked my bit of a side note and also my honesty on my learning from my tests. But yeah, let's continue. Public goods and private goods. Public goods are types of goods, public goods and private goods. These are another two types of goods. And public goods are those types of goods which are non-excludable and non-rivalrous. Mainly, they are provided by the government. And why is that the case? I will talk about it in a bit. Private goods are types of goods which are both excludable and rivalrous. So there's competition. Sorry for the non. I'm being honest. Sorry for the non. But yeah. So private goods are types of goods that are both excludable and rivalrous, and they're owned by private individuals. Example of a private good is a private limited company. An example of public goods are street benches, parks, street lighting, flood defense, etc. So non-excludable, it basically is when a person or no one can be excluded from consuming the good or service. So the consumers cannot be said no from consuming the good or service. The benefits would be provided to both those who paid for it and for those who didn't pay for it. I just want to give you an example of flood defense. Like while building the flood defense, and this is an example that my teacher gave to me when I was taught market failure for the first time, basically in IGCSE, and I remember it almost all the time. Of course, I've used my notes to refresh my knowledge, but yeah. When the government builds a flood defense, what happens is this is an example I've been given. So if the government goes to, not the government itself, but like government probably allocates quite a lot of people or agencies or anything to go collect money collection, and that happens, and that's sometimes could be by using tax money, and sometimes could be just for this project. If this is in a village or something, if you think about it, if this is in the countryside, so probably everyone will be given the news that we're gonna build flood defense, there's too much flood going on. Hence, they would go to every house and probably ask for money. But it's possible that the money isn't given by some households because they think, oh, the next household, my neighbor or my neighbor's neighbor or someone in the society will pay for this, or there's no point paying for this because we'll anyway have the flood defense. Again, this is an example of non-excludability. Even if the consumers didn't pay, they would still gain the benefit from the flood defense because the flood defense will anyway protect the whole area where the flood defense is built. So this is an example of how public good is non-excludable. And non-rivalrous is when one person consumes the good or takes the benefit of the good, the availability of the other consumer does not stop. There's no competition. Again, I'm going to continue with my example of flood defense. So it's non-rivalrous because it's not like if a person goes stand next to the flood defense, they will be more protected, and if the person stands far away, they'll be less protected. And if a bunch of people go stand next to the flood defense, it's not like they will be protected. It's the whole area. That's why it's non-rivalrous. There's no competition. Okay, I hope you guys understand this concept. It's a very important thing. You need to put non-excludable and non-rivalrous, rivalrous and excludable in both of your definitions accordingly. Public goods are only provided by the public sector, as I told before. And public sectors are owned, controlled, and managed by the government. And they don't usually have profit-making objectives, but the private sector is owned, controlled, and managed by the private individuals, private owners, and they do have a profit-making incentive or objective. So why is public goods not provided by the private sector? This is because of the non-excludable feature of public goods. Because they're non-excludable, the private individuals, even if they provide, they won't earn money because everyone would be like, oh, the other person will pay, the other person will pay, the other person will pay, and they wouldn't get enough revenue. Hence, they are not willing to provide the good or service. Hence, private sectors don't provide, but public sectors provide public goods, and private sectors mainly provide private goods. Yes, there are situations probably when there's a private partnership scheme, etc. And I'm not going to talk about it because that's, I believe, IB. Yeah, that is IB stuff, but I'm confused whether it's IB business or IB economics. Sorry. I mean, they're linked sometimes, and I do both, so they're a bit tangled up because same type of information is required. But yeah, just for your information, it's possible that private sectors do provide public goods, and these are usually like NGOs and stuff, and they're private sectors because the NGOs are not owned by the government. I'm not going to talk about it. It's business studies, I think. Yeah, it is business studies. So yeah, at least it's not required for IG Econ. IG Business, I believe it is required. But yeah, let's get continuing with our economics content. So this would mean that if the private sector provides these, they won't be able to make profit, as I said before. Hence, private sectors don't provide public goods. Public sectors provide public goods. This is what you need to know, and the reasoning behind it is this: due to the non-excludable feature of the public goods. So again, let me continue with my flood defense problem after reading this. Market failure with public goods occurs due to the free rider problem. Now, this is a very important concept. Free rider problem. Another key concept, basically. So, free rider problem is like the idea that consumers who behave rationally will attempt to gain a free ride from other consumers. So, again, as I said, the people would think the other person will pay, and the next person will think the next person will pay, or the other person would have paid, so there's no point of me paying. That's what we usually think because we consumers want to save money, right? Mostly, or basically use money on other things instead of these kind of things. So example is again building the flood defense I just told, and this happens due to the non-excludable feature of public goods again. So this is basically what I'm trying to say. You can't in the sense that the private individuals can't say no for public goods because everyone will get the benefit if a private sector comes in and builds a whole flood defense or something. Then everyone will benefit, but it's possible that not everyone gave the funds, or maybe no one gave the funds for it, and the private sector just built it. And that happens sometimes, I think. I don't know if it happens in real. I'm pretty sure it might happen, but that will happen if it's an NGO or charity, or not a charity, if it's an NGO or other, like if the government has funded the private sector, then they would do it. Again, this funding will happen due subsidies. So with subsidies, sometimes of course the private sector will do it with subsidies and grants. And I believe I've not talked about subsidies and grants in this channel. I will talk about it. Government intervention is the topic, and we'll talk about it, and I will try my best to post my video on government intervention, make content, etc. But yeah, so please stay tuned and stick with me for that, please. Okay, so this is the reason why market failure with public goods occur. Okay, now, last concept is monopolies and market failure. So what is a monopoly? Monopoly is a type of firm that dominates the market and has the power to determine the prices of the goods or services it produces. How might monopolies abuse their power? So there are some possibilities that they could set really high prices. They will set really high prices as the demand is inelastic for the product. And if you guys don't know what inelastic is, please go watch my other videos on PED and PED, yeah. And PED is the demand side and PES is the supply side. And they may also set high barriers to entry. Now, barriers to entry is basically the ability of another firm entering the market. And if they set high barriers of entry, other firms can't enter the market. Hence, this would lead to them only the monopoly firm only being able to produce or provide the product for the consumers. Also, due to the inelastic demand and them only being the one firm, poor quality of goods and services will and may be provided, because the producers might take it for granted that they don't need to provide really high quality resources. They can just do not that well, and the consumers still have to buy. They don't really have a choice, and that is a disadvantage, and that is why why monopolies are a market failure as well. Because there's low choice. There's no choice for consumers. Consumers have to buy the good. Otherwise, if they find it too expensive, they won't buy it and they won't get the good or service in the market. And another thing, companies can't enter the market, hence leading to market failure. There's high barriers of entry, and also there's low quality of product. That wraps up for today, and I hope I was able to help you with the content and the concept of market failure. And also please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to my channel, and also hit the bell icon right next to it so you will be notified whenever a new video is posted. Also, I want to say sorry if I made any mistakes in my video. I am still a student and I'm not perfect, so in case I made any mistakes here and there, I'm sorry. I just want to apologize. I have made a few minute or a few mistakes in my other videos, and for that I've also commented down below my mistakes, and I've also corrected them there, or also in my description box, so please check that out as well. I'm so sorry for that. I will try not to do that again, but I've tried it for this video, so I hope everything was correct. Thank you so much for supporting. See you soon in my next video. Until then, happy economics!